unhappy or downhearted, or we can just call it being sad. When we're sad, we might feel lonely, heartbroken, hopeless or lost. Being sad is a part of how we live and how we move on. Every single person you know feels sad sometimes, regardless of how happy they seem or the quality of life they live. Loneliness is a public health issue. In UK, 60% of 18 to 34 years old say they often feel sad. In the US, 46% of people feel sad and lonely. It's a problem that has been boosted by the events of 2020. A study by the Mental Health Foundation found that during the spring lockdown, social distancing left millions more people feeling isolated. These feelings of depression are aroused more prominently in winters. But for some people, those feelings can manifest into something even more extreme, an illness called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. Well, why do we feel lonely in winters? During winter, when shorter, darker days and more time spent indoors can impact people's mental health negatively. SAD is diagnosed more often in women than in men, and SAD occurs more frequently in younger adults than in older. Even though it's associated with winter, SAD isn't really related to colder temperatures. It's actually tied to the light-dark cycle, like when it starts getting dark super early. For most people, SAD averages about 5 months out of the year. But obviously, everyone is a little bit different. The exact duration and time of year differs depending on where you live, and SAD is more common in places farther from the equator. Many studies have shown that people with seasonal affective disorder feel better after exposure to bright light. It seems simple enough. In higher latitudes, winter days are shorter, so you get less exposure to sunlight. Replace lost sunlight with bright artificial light and your mood improves. In Alaska, less than 4 hours sunlight, it seems like no one could escape winter depression, but in fact many Alaskans get along just fine. Some possible explanation for why seasonal affective disorder isn't more common in the Arctic. For one, people with seasonal affective disorder may be genetically predisposed to clinical depression and light sensitivity. Perhaps the people who can't cope with it might not stay. But not everyone affected by seasonal changes has full-blown seasonal affective disorder. You may have trouble getting up, having fatigue during the day, or feel compelled to overeat without getting depressed. These symptoms can be treated with the same therapy given to seasonal affective disorder patients. Bright light generated by a special light box that's much brighter than a normal lamp is the first option. It's proven to work, but not for everyone. Also, the right time for it differs from person to person. When the brain's pineal gland starts pumping out melatonin, we get sleepy. During winter, animals secrete melatonin for longer periods than they do at other times of the year. And also, people do too, but only those who suffer from seasonal affective disorder. Light therapy would still work if melatonin were the main culprit, because light controls melatonin levels. Researchers are also testing a drug called propranolol, which they hope will improve seasonal affective disorder symptoms by regulating melatonin levels in the morning. Researchers are testing yet another new way to treat seasonal affective disorder. This therapy involves aiming a stream of negatively charged ions at a person sleeping on a special conductive bedsheet. A second study has also found a beneficial effect. The air is full of negative ions in springtime and no in winter, but that doesn't explain how ion therapy works. Well, for now, our question is not that. Winter depression is still a mystery to scientists who study it. Many things, including our brain chemicals, ions in the air, and genetics seem to be involved. Well, loneliness can be a hard emotion to deal with. Now could be a time to pick up new hobbies that make you feel uplifted, while also applying the techniques we used during the spring lockdown. Hit like if you find this video interesting. See ya in the next story of why.